Freedom has many difficulties, and democracy is not perfect. But we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in.
Did you see the frightened ones? Did you hear the falling bombs? Did you ever wonder why we had to run for shelter when the promise of a brave new world unfurled beneath the clear blue sky?
A wall can do two things: keep people in or keep them out. With this wall, the price of getting out when you're in can be death. A 176 people have paid that price since the wall went up nearly 19 years ago. That's 5 lives for every kilometre. For those people, the wall is their headstone. Escapes across the wall today are rare, perhaps 2 a month, even less. It's become too difficult, simply too dangerous. You see, you don't have to cross 1 wall, but 2, and in some sections, as many as 5. Concrete, 3 metres high, barbed wire fences, barricades, tripwires. And if you get past all that, there's still the dogs and the machine guns. This is the sort of obstacle the East Germans have built to divide Berlin and the German people. When the East Germans built the wall in 1961, their intention was clear: to stop the flood of people escaping to West Berlin. The wall split the city and became a focus of world protest. At the same time, the whole frontier between the two Germanys was lined with barbed wire and minefields. Those who made it across were reduced to a mere trickle. Today, the wall that divides Berlin still divides families, even husband and wife. Fräulein, who are you waving to?
Nein, möchte nicht.
Is he your boyfriend?
Ja.
What she was trying to tell us was that the man on the other side was not just her boyfriend, but her husband. She left the East with permission to attend her father's funeral. She never returned, even though it meant splitting with her husband. Every day, at this prearranged spot, they waved to each other.
Don't worry, baby, I'll be all right. You'll never make me cry.
Heinz Engelhardt was just 16 when he tried to cross the wall. He survived, but paid a terrible price.
I tried to cross the border from Germany to Germany in 1966. The world does not stop at the wall, at the barbed wire. The propaganda claims that everything is bad there. Fascism, capitalism. I wanted to see it myself, to make up my own mind about it. I could get out only by breaking through the border. As I came to the border, I walked into a minefield. There were no warning signs, nothing. I stepped on a mine, which tore off both my legs.
I kept asking.
Carola Schnick escaped to West Berlin in 1978, leaving behind her 4-year-old son. The East Berlin lawyer who arranged her escape promised that mother and son would be reunited within a matter of months. But 2 years went by without Carola seeing her boy.
They told me to keep quiet or it would make things worse. For 11 months I was in 2 minds. Should I risk it and appeal to the public or not? But I had to.
Armed with a placard, Carola Schnick demonstrated at Checkpoint Charlie.
I wanted to appeal to foreigners, to the diplomats who would drive across the border and wonder what was going on. I thought there must be many mothers who would know what it's like not to have your child, and they would help me.
Her demonstration was successful. And last year, she made another trip to the border. Fearing that television cameras might give the East Germans another excuse for delay, she asked that the film crew stay in the car during the actual handover. A few minutes later, mother and son were together. The war hasn't achieved one thing. George Henschel is a member of the West Berlin Parliament.
I mean, that was the intention of the communists when they built it. That was one intention, too, to say, we split up the two Germanys, and it's just a matter of one generation, and they will be that far apart from each other that they are already two nations. But this didn't happen.
176 may have died in the attempt, but thousands of others made it. Some against incredible odds.
In the world of freedom, the proudest boast is, Ich bin ein Berliner.
The East Germans will argue that the war was put there to stop the capitalists from coming into East Germany, not to keep their own people in.
Well, this is the argument of the communists, because they had to have an excuse for building the wall, and that's what they used in order to say, keep away fascism. But the history really proved that this is completely wrong, because until they erected the wall, about 3 million people left Eastern Germany. And so it's not this way that we were about to conquer them or invade them, something like that, but they lost a lot of people, 3 million in less than 20 years.
This is Checkpoint Charlie. It's really the door between East and West Berlin. It's also the point where the superpowers, the heavies if you like, come face to face. The Americans, the British and French on this side, and about 50 meters further on, the communists. But it's not just a border post. Checkpoint Charlie is where two systems, two ways of life, socialism and capitalism, confront each other. Here, the Cold War never lets up. The East German border guards don't miss a thing. 60 Minutes was under close observation as we filmed. The wall may be 19 years old, but the tension never eases. Guten Tag. My name is Mr. Leslie. I am from Australian television. The channel, yeah, that's right, television in Australia. Passports, yes, you want all our passports? This is my passport. Yeah, all from Australia. We're all from the Channel 9 network in Australia. We would like to, if possible, come into East Berlin. Thank you. Over there? Filming here is strictly forbidden, so cameraman Nick Lee nursed his camera on his lap. He didn't try to hide it, but he didn't turn it off either. Well, so far so good.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? Look, the problem for you is that your camera and your recorder.
The camera's a problem and the recorder.
Yes. You want to make a film here, yes?
We would like to just do a little bit of filming of the streets and see how the city looks.
You can do it, but at first you need a special paper from our Ministry for Foreign Affairs that you are allowed to take the film, to make a film here.
We need documents, official documents.
Official document. And that's why the camera and the recorder must be, you let it here at the customs, deposit, and when you have the paper, no problem for you.
What you're telling me is we leave the cameras here and we walk into the city.
Yes.
And we go to see your ministry.
That's right.
And they can give us the documents.
That's right.
And you can bring the do you think we would get those documents?
I don't know.
that is another question.
Yes, that's another question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
Of course, we didn't get our camera in, but without it, the East Germans said we were most welcome. So we went in, and that's where I ended up, down in that street. But it's only from here, on this side of the wall, that we can show you what it looks like. It's not that we could have filmed any military secret. Perhaps the secret the East Germans want to keep is a comparison that's too embarrassing to make. East Berlin is a drab city without colour or character. An austerity you can see in the streets, the shops, in the faces of its people.
We have the bigger economic power. As far as individual standard of living is concerned, I would say that the West Germans are about 4 times better or 4 times ahead of the East Germans. That goes for cars, for refrigerators, for TV sets, for housing, for luxury goods and things like that.
What would the East Germans call luxury goods?
Well, a car is already a luxury good for them, and a color TV also.
This is the cancer of capitalism that East Germany goes to so much trouble to protect its citizens from. But it's a condition that no one in the West is complaining about. West Berliners enjoy the highest standard of living in Europe. Few people here think a car or a colour TV is a luxury. The Kurfürstendamm, this grand boulevard of high fashion and nightlife, is to Berlin what Fifth Avenue is to New York. Here there's no trace, nothing to remind you of the Cold War. Yet, I'm only a few minutes away from the wall. I'm also closer to communist Poland than I am to the West German border. Berlin stands a city alone, a touch of Fifth Avenue, deep in the communist world. West Berliners have learned to live with the Cold War, so have the Western powers. And if that means spying on your neighbours, what better place to do it than in Berlin? From here, NATO can listen into conversations in Moscow, Warsaw, Prague. The wall did one thing. It marked the limit, the end to Soviet expansionism in Europe, and in that sense, it was positive. Now we have Afghanistan. Have things started to warm up here now because of Afghanistan?
No, I wouldn't say so. For a short time, people here have been a little bit afraid of such a thing, such a development, that this Afghanistan case would have its impact here on the Berlin situation. But it seems to us as if the Russians are very much interested in keeping things quiet here in the middle of Europe and especially in Berlin. It seems to us as if they're not interested in having another confrontation besides the one in Afghanistan.
Did you see the frightened ones? Did you hear the falling bombs? Did you ever wonder why we had to run for shelter when the promise of a brave new world unfurled beneath the clear blue sky?
The wall may not be moving any further west, but then there are no signs that it's coming down either. Its job today is the same as it was when it was first put up, to divide a country and to separate 2 ways of life. In that sense, nothing has changed in 19 years.
There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin. And there are even a few who say that it's true that communism is an evil system, but it permits us to make economic progress. Lass sie nach Berlin kommen. Let them come to Berlin.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9 Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.